Okay. Now when you remove the, what is this called? Skull. No, calvaria. Okay. Now this is where the coverings of the meninges is. Okay. So it is covering on the, it's covering the brain. This is called as the cranial meninges. Okay. So you remove one by one like this, and the brain is situated inside the meninges. Okay. So we leave this here, and this is the brain, right? So you have the cerebellum, which is separated by the longitudinal fissure, and these are known as the sulcus and gyrus. The one which is the depression is called as the sulcus. The one that is curved like this, elevated one, is called as the gyrus. Okay. Now, in turn, basically the brain is divided into front part, which is the anterior cranial fossa, frontal lobe. Then comes the temporal lobe, which is the middle part of the brain, and then comes the parietal lobe, occipital lobe. So frontal, anteriorly, temporals, laterally, parietal, superior, medially on either side, and occipital lobe. Okay, and then here below the cerebrum is what is known as your cerebellum. In front here is the brainstem. Midbrain, pons, and medulla. Midbrain is above, pons in the center, and medulla. Okay. Now this section here is known as the brainstem. Brainstem, which is the lower end, medulla oblongata, continues down as the spinal cord. Okay. Here, what you can see is the two right and left vertebral artery joins to form the single basal artery. And then you have on either side of the basal artery, you have the internal carotid, which is behind the optic chiasma. This is the internal carotid. Okay. This is the internal carotid. Can you see behind here? Okay. Both sides. There's two systems of arteries here, right? One is the vertebral artery, and the other one is internal carotid artery, both of which forms the circle of Willis. And this is the basal artery, as I said. Above here, this is the optic nerve, which crosses and forms the optic chiasma, right? And then here is what is known as the oculomotor nerve, which is the third cranial nerve, right? Yeah, so, and then at the side, as you can see, this is where the attachment of the tentorium cerebelli. Tentorium cerebelli dips in between the cerebrum and the cerebellum. And then you have the fox cerebelli, separates the two cerebellar hemisphere. Now, then you have the fox cerebri, which separates the two cerebrum. Okay. Now, at the side, this is another important feature, which is the middle meningeal artery. This middle meningeal artery you can see at the sides of the skull as well, which is this one over here. This is the groove for the middle meningeal artery. Why this thing is important is because this part is of the skull is the thinnest. When this part is the thinnest, what happens is during any head injury or any trauma, this part is most likely to be fractured easily, right? So when there's a fracture here, it sort of tears the meninges and then cuts the middle meningeal artery, and thereby you will have a extracranial hemorrhage, meaning bleeding between the skull and the brain. which is called as extracranial. Outside the meninges, but inside the skull. Okay, right. Now, this is called as the extradural hemorrhage. If there's a bleeding inside, that is below the durameter, that is called as subdural hemorrhage. Okay, and then you know the three layers like durameter, arachnoid meter, and pyometer. So the layer below the durameter is called as subdural. The layer below the arachnoid meter is called as the subarachnoid. Okay, so if there's a bleeding below the arachnoid meter, is known as subarachnoid hemorrhage, which is where the bleeding in the subarachnoid hemorrhage, subarachnoid space is called as subarachnoid hemorrhage, which comes down and collects in the conjunctiva of the eyes, which is known as the panda eye phenomenon. Okay, panda eye phenomenon or black eye phenomenon. That's it. Okay.